Hi, this is Emma, and welcome to Esoteric Detective. Elisa Lam was a 21-year-old Canadian student who went missing on January 31, 2013, and was found deceased on February 19, 2013. Her body being recovered from a water tank above the infamous Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles.
A grim discovery at a downtown LA hotel. Police say the body found in a hotel water tank is that of a 21-year-old Canadian tourist, Elisa Lam. KTLA's Eric Spillman joins us live now from downtown LA with the latest on her mysterious death. Good morning.
Hi, Megan. I just got off the phone with the coroner's office, and they're talking about performing an autopsy on the body, perhaps as soon as tomorrow. The cause of death is going to be an important piece of the puzzle here. What a bizarre discovery it was yesterday. Let me show you some pictures of firefighters on the roof here of the Cecil Hotel. The body was found in a large water tank on the rooftop. People staying at the hotel complained of low water pressure, so a maintenance worker went up to check. He found the naked body of a woman in her 20s at the bottom of one of the tanks. Firefighters had to use a saw to cut a hole in the tank, drain the water out, and remove the body. Now, they've identified her as 21-year-old Elisa Lam. She's from Vancouver, Canada, was last seen at the Cecil on January the 31st. Police are calling her death suspicious, not yet calling it a murder, and they're saying they cannot rule out foul play.
Stay tuned as Esoteric Detective investigates 6 things we know about Elisa Lam's mysterious death at the Cecil Hotel. Number 6. The elevator footage that was captured shortly before Elisa Lam disappeared is not only disturbing but shows she was very afraid of something outside the elevator. Let's take a look. Whatever was outside the elevator seems to have not only made her afraid, but also somehow affected her mind. Other researchers have stated that her behavior was due to the effects of an unknown mental illness related to Elisa Lam's own struggle with depression. However, what unknown mental illness is unknown. Others have said that it was related to drugs, some kind of party drug that maybe she obtained and took. However, what tests that were performed in the autopsy found no traces of any drugs or alcohol within her system. Number 5. The strange way in which Elisa Lam was found. That is, she was found inside the locked water tank above the Cecil Hotel. This is just one odd part of the death of Elisa Lam, since there is no way for Elisa Lam to get onto the roof of the Cecil Hotel. In fact, the only way to the roof is through a locked trapdoor which has an alarm sensor wired to it, so anyone that even attempts to break through the trapdoor will trigger the alarm. The only way that the heavy trapdoor to the roof can be opened is by the janitor's key, which Elisa Lam did not have on her when she was found floating in the water tank. The opening to the water tank itself was also not large enough for a body to be brought through it. In fact, When the police found the body of Elisa Lam floating in the water tank, they had to order engineers to cut a larger opening in the water tank to get the body out. This not only does not make sense, but it seems almost impossible. Even if there was a killer that wanted to hide the body in the water tank, and bypassed the alarm system, and managed to use some kind of mechanism to get past the alarm system and open the trapdoor to the roof, they still would have faced the impossible task of getting the body through the narrow hole in the water tank. Not only that, but opening the water tank itself, which had a very heavy and locked lid. Which begs the most mysterious question: how did Elisa Lam's body get into the water tank, when the task seems impossible? Number 4. The autopsy displays the characteristic that something very unusual happened to Elisa Lam before she died. One of the most strangest things found involving the body of Elisa Lam was that the body was drained of so much blood they could not do very little toxicological screening. This was brought to light by former veteran detective David Paulides, who has over 30 years working in law enforcement, and requested the coroner's report. After reading it, David Paulides said that in the hundreds and hundreds of homicide reports that he read, he had never came across a case where a toxicological report could not be performed because of a lack of blood in the body. To add to this, there was no blood found in the water where Elisa Lam was found, and there were no puncture marks found on the body. That is, the missing blood was not accounted for, and there was no way that the blood could have been removed from the body. David Paulides states that this may be the biggest mystery surrounding the events, for it seems physically impossible. Number 3. There were also no signs of rape or forced trauma on Elisa Lam's body. No markings of injury whatsoever, apart from a very small superficial scratch on her knee. That is, no evidence that any other person was involved in her death. Her body was found naked, covered in a strange sand, with her clothes floating beside her. The only other objects found were her room key and her watch. There were no objects found that would have enabled her to gain access to the heavy cover over the tank or would have enabled her to gain access through the secure doors to the alarmed rooftop. For all intensive purposes, it was like she disappeared and then appeared in the water tank. Number 2. The location, that is, Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles, where Elisa Lam was staying, and where she was found, has a strange history of ominous occurrences. It had an unusual rate of suicides and a number of murders. It was the residence of not one but two notorious serial killers, including Richard Ramirez and Jack Unterweger. It was also, strangely enough, the last location that the famous Black Dahlia was found. A woman who lived at the hotel in 1947 and was found mutilated, her body sliced in half at the waist, on January 15, 1947, in Limit Park, Los Angeles, California. The Black Dahlia was a crime that was so gruesome that it created a firestorm throughout the media at the time, and even today is still being investigated. Which leads one to ask the question, what are the chances that in a country of millions of people, that so many famous murderers and murders could be found hailing from the same location? Statistically, the chances that there are this much death surrounding one location must be astronomical when compared to any other hotel within America, or indeed, the world. Maybe the answer to that question you will never know. But clusters of this kind must have a reason behind them. A reason that maybe, at this time, is beyond our comprehension, but a reason, nonetheless. Number 1. Search dogs, after great effort, could not find the body. The body was also found in water, and in an impossible place. These characteristics are the same characteristic linked to many strange disappearances that I have previously reported on in my investigation on clusters of missing people, that is my recent video called 6 Things We Know About the Missing People in National Parks. This video will be linked at the end of the video and in the description. Often in these cases, as missing people in national parks, search dogs are unable to find the body, until it just shows up, in places that search parties have already searched. Often, in water, and without their clothes, and nearly always in an impossible location. That is, somewhere they could not have physically accessed. It is worth pointing out that there was one case, although that it did not involve a person, that mimics the case of Elisa Lam. This case was laid out by David Paulides, who gave an example of a case in which a number of prize bulls went missing from ranchers' land, only to be found floating in a locked water tank on the ranch, drained of their blood. The rancher said that it was impossible for the bulls to get to the location physically, since the tank was locked. Although the blood was drained from the bulls, there was also no blood found in the water around the bulls or puncture marks, which has strange parallels to the way in which Elisa Lam was found. What this connection might mean, might be nothing, but it is strangely similar. What the relationship is between this strange case of Elisa Lam and the clusters of missing people around the world, where people are found in odd circumstances, in similar ways to Elisa Lam, is at this point also unknown. The dots seem to be in place, but connecting them is often difficult. Even though they often display characteristics that are similar. Maybe if we work together, and keep researching, one day we might be able to connect more dots and see a fuller picture of what is really happening. But at this point, as all researchers know, sometimes you have to just keep searching, and waiting, for more evidence to come to light. What do you guys think happened to Elisa Lam? Do you think that something very ominous happened to her? Something so strange and unusual that maybe we cannot even fit it in our minds? Or was it something mundane, that seems strange on the surface, because we lack the ability to truly see what happened? Stay tuned and subscribe to Esoteric Detective, to keep up to date with the strange and unusual. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. And until next time, if you are thinking of staying in Los Angeles, stay the hell away from the Cecil Hotel. You don't want to end up as part of history, at least in an Elisa Lam kind of way.